The number one myth about NLP trainings. Stay tuned. This is Damon Cart from NLP Gym. The number one myth about NLP trainings. Before I get into this, if you haven't already, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. Also, coming January 6th, from January 6th to January 20th, is open enrollment for my online NLP practitioner training. I will also be doing some free live online NLP training, which will happen January 9th, January 10th, and January 11th, right here on this YouTube and Facebook channel. Stay tuned for that. What is the number one myth about NLP training? I think it really boils down to, it's a common myth among many things that we learn or we're supposed to learn. This idea of knowing. So let's unpack the word know. What does it mean to know something? I can know something without being able to do it. I can know how to fly an airplane if I watch classes or videos on how to fly an airplane, but it doesn't mean that I can actually do it. So when people say, I know NLP because I went to an NLP training, what does that really mean exactly? I've been practicing yoga for 10 years. When somebody says, oh, you know yoga, I always find that to sound really odd. And there was a time when I practiced martial arts and people would say, oh, you know karate or you know martial arts. And again, I found that to be really odd because I don't think of that as a knowing, as a cognitive or intellectual knowing. It's a practice. So the number one myth that people have about NLP trainings is that they're going to know NLP when they're done with the training. But again, what does that mean exactly? And I think it's easy for people to market NLP trainings that way too, to say you will know NLP when you go through this training. Again, what does that actually mean? Will you know the concepts, but does that mean you will also be able to implement it? Does that mean that you'll be able to use NLP effectively on the fly in real situations, or does it mean that you'll be able to use NLP effectively on yourself? The truth is, at the end of an NLP training, you're not going to be that effective at NLP, and that's just normal. That's when you learn anything, you're not going to be that good at it at first. And as I had mentioned in my previous video, NLP trainings are more a demonstration of NLP. It's the start. When you finish a practitioner training, your journey has really just begun. When I finished my first practitioner training, I was honest enough with myself to know that I did not know NLP in the sense of being able to use it effectively. And the first time I took a yoga class, even months after I'd been practicing yoga, I didn't think of myself as knowing yoga. I wasn't that good at it. The same with NLP. So this idea that you can take an NLP training, like a practitioner training, and then you know NLP and then you're done, which is, I think, what many institutes try to sell. They try to sell that certification like it's something tangible, like it's something you can just go buy off of a shelf. It's just not the case. We are attracted to that. It's very attractive to think that we can just show up at a training, and if it's a week long or 2 weeks long, when we walk out of it, then we know NLP. But we don't, and I've seen this of the several NLP trainings that I've attended and resource coached and even taught. If you don't practice it, you don't know NLP. You may have certain cognitive understandings of NLP, but that's not going to do you much good. NLP is like yoga for the mind. You cannot just watch videos on it or show up to an NLP training and then say, I can do this. No, you have to actually practice it. I apply a lot of the principles that I learned practicing yoga to practicing NLP. It has to become a regular practice. Your body begins to take on a different feel and a different way of movement and a new flexibility, a new strength, and a new balance when you practice yoga. And it comes to the point where you don't have to really think about it anymore, you just do it. NLP is the same way. You will begin to, after a while, just start to use NLP naturally, even unconsciously, once you've practiced it enough. But it takes a lot of conscious practice to do that. It takes actually years of conscious practice before you get to the point where you just do NLP naturally all the time. I've had people say to me, after having a conversation with them, start picking apart the things that I said and said, well, here's where you use this pattern and that pattern. I had no idea I was doing that. But if you practice for long enough, that will start to happen. Think about learning a language. If you went to a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week intensive to learn a different language, say Spanish, you would definitely be able to speak some Spanish at the end of that. But if you didn't continue to practice, if you didn't continue to have conversations with people who know Spanish, your Spanish would start to fall away and you wouldn't be able to speak it anymore. Everything that you learned would go away. However, there is a threshold at a certain point. If you practice long enough, if you practice a different language long enough, you will permanently remember at least a large enough chunk of it that you can use it at any time. And that's how NLP works as well. After long enough practice, eventually it becomes you. It becomes a part of you. And you will use it without even thinking about it. And that's the point, that's the part where you want to get. You're not going to get that out of one training. And that is the major myth, I think, or assumption a lot of people believe going into an NLP training, is that they don't need to practice after they're done with the training, that they've got it. But where else does that ever happen in life? It certainly doesn't happen learning a language. It certainly doesn't happen when it comes to physical fitness, exercise, martial arts, anything else you learn. So NLP is no different. You have to practice it, and you have to practice it enough that you get to a point where you just do it naturally. Check out my website, nlp-gym.com. Follow me on Facebook for real-time updates on upcoming trainings. Remember to set your calendars for January 6th when enrollment opens up for my NLP online practitioner training, which is perhaps the most complete NLP practitioner training online, and it is perhaps the most effective and affordable way to learn NLP. If you like this video, please click like right down here, and remember to subscribe so you can get these videos on a regular basis. Take care.